So, in preparation for today, I asked myself what type of leader I am because I believe there's different type of leaders. There are some leaders who, have so much educational and they became an expert in their field. And then I believe there's leaders um, that life forced them to either become a leader or to fail. And I consider myself one of those that life forced upon the world. I believe that life had a destiny planned out for me that I did not know myself. By the time I was 15, I had taken every science and math college course. I easily excel out studying. For chemistry, I made a perfect 100, perfect score on it. AP physics was easy for me. And I was always move up grade to grade to grade and end up graduating well over 4.0. And then, I went through college and interned with Google and worked for Google. And then at the age of 23, I was coming back on a business trip and suddenly I just felt awful. I never felt this way a day in my life. And I tried to explain to people, felt like something was kicking me in the head. I get the flight attendant. She moved me to the back where the bathrooms and display were. Next thing I know, I wake up at the hospital with multiple tubes on me, in me, and things like all these sticky things attached to my head. And I didn't know what was going on. They'd grounded the plane. I wake up not knowing where I am. And doctors end up diagnosing me as epileptic. They said I had went to an estimated 10 seizures, and there happened to be a nurse on the plane that I was on that kept me alive. I still don't know who this nurse is to this day. I wish I did know who she was, but honestly, she was my guardian angel because we on the plane with, nothing. The doctors thought I had an aneurysm in my head because I went to multiple seizures. Um, so after multiple tests, doctors told me that I couldn't drive. I went for state, met every neurologist that had, at this point, I'd had every test done on my body that you can imagine, for counsel, for everything. And doctors, when they told me that I couldn't drive, I decided that I would just build my own technology. Again, my whole background was building these technologies, but looking back on it, did they have a purpose? They had a purpose for being a hobby, being fun, designing, building little pieces here and there. Because, I just love science and engineering. But now I needed this technology to have freedom in my life because I don't know if a lot of people out there know a lot about epilepsy, but it a lot of people that are epileptic, you have to live with your parents. You can't drive, which impacts the way you work, the way you live. You can't go to a grocery store by yourself. And suddenly, at the age of 23, all this was thrown at me. And 23, you're young, you want your independence. You definitely don't want to live with. For me, it was with my mom, and so I end up deciding that the first thing I built was a biosensor steering wheel. And I worked with engineers in Portugal, talked to them, and created a biosensor app that can monitor my heart and my brain while I'm driving. Picture two vessels. A vessel said, that's too risky. If you ever been in a startup world, they willing to take risks, but only so much amount of risk. And so then I also come from a family where all my siblings are successful, but my mom don't have the money like a lot of startup founders a lot of startup founders I met, they're like, oh, my parents gave me my first $100,000 to start the company, or my dad took a second mortgage out of home. I come from a single mom household, and so I didn't have that. So I did what my dad taught me how to do when I was younger. When growing up in a two-parent household when I was younger, I would play poker with my dad and his army buddies. So I took my savings and I started playing poker to build my company. And I built what is Moment AI. I designed an AI system actually while at a poker tournament in Atlantic City. I tell everybody this literally came into my head. Um, I was in the hotel when I just immediately saw designing it. And upon getting back to Memphis, which is where my mother lives, I built the prototype. And because at this point, I had been in an epileptic group and I saw how people, I mean, you had grown-ups who was having to have their kids take care of them. One of my dear friends, Miss Cindy, I call everybody Miss, and yes, ma'am, by the way, I am from the South. Miss Cindy, she actually drove through a red light and had to have her jaw wired. So, and I met one man and he could not take a shower without his mom waiting outside the door. And so luckily, I'm able to be mobile by myself. And I just got my license back last year. But I saw that this time what I was building was just not for fun or, just not another science experiment. This time I could empower others. And that's for me and what a leader is. It's not about your knowledge, how smart you are, it's about how you can empower other lives. And I saw by building AI systems and by building technology, that was what I was meant to do. And that's how I could get independence back to others. And uh, in, in my journey as a CEO, a moment, I have been fortunate to keep designing multiple systems, and I've been fortunate enough to meet and be in the room with multiple CEOs, high diplomats, ambassadors. By this point, I'd have met them. But the person that I remember the most, I was speaking at a coding program for young girls, middle school and high school. And it was this young girl, this was right after the NVIDIA conference where I had just spoken to a room full of data scientists and engineers. I come back to Memphis to volunteer at this coding program. And this young girl, she is drilling me about data scientists and the AI. And afterwards, again, she's like 11 or 12 years old. She comes up and throws her arms around me. And for me, that's the happiest moment I've had being a founder of a company. It was singing how I'm impacting not only women, but the next generation. And it made me feel confident that this young girl, the question that she was asking, I have not had senior data scientists ask me just literally a week before. And I knew that I was on the right path and that not only am I impacting um, other people, I given this knowledge to a young girl that can then turn around and aspire. She can go up and be, the next inventor. I currently have technology now in passenger vehicles, transits, aerospace. At this point in every part of transportation, I landed a partnership. Um, and I tell you, none of those moments, all those become blurry after a while. And the startup world, eventually, almost every day, it's the same thing. But the things that I remember the most are when the women come up to me, and you get women from all across sectors. And I saw that moment when I was 29 years old. I'm 30 now, and I have women from all over the place coming up to me and telling me that I'm a leader, that I aspire them. So for me, that was, and no longer was about the AI system technology, because I am a royalty in the space I do. I focus on AI and transportation again. Most of the time, I tend to be the only woman amongst men in this space. But having women come up to me is my motivation when I wake up. I know that it's a bigger field. It's bigger than just me. And I know that there's a lot of weight on my shoulder due to when I get this opportunity, there's just not an opportunity to get another paycheck for a moment to, to continue to grow. It's, hey, take the chance with me. And then if I show them what a woman can do in AI, then these investors, these partners of these billion-dollar companies, they would then take another chance on another woman. And that's one of the things I want. I know we have several women in different industries here, but I want you to think about, how are you impacting another woman, and how are you impacting another generation? To me, that's where leadership come in. I remember when, when I saw getting asked to speak at these big conferences, Verizon, Oracle, NVIDIA, whoever, French embassy. I was like, you calling me an expert, but for me, it was like, be an expert in your field without being a leader. But you can be, if you're a leader, then that what makes you an expert. And by that, I mean, just don't hoard all the knowledge that you know. Share the knowledge, make another woman, another young girl, make somebody stronger with the knowledge that you have gained. And again, I believe for me, based off what I've seen from founders or people in my industry or other industries, the stronger leadership that came for when life have forced you to become a leader. Um, Again, I'm now, not only am I a minority, a woman of color, but I also am disabled. And those struggles, it's like really a minority in the field I'm in, dealing with the startup world. And just last week, which we was able to close, become a portfolio company of one of the biggest venture capitalists. And that's great and that's good. But now what am I going to do to help other girls, help other women? And I think when you wake up each day, that should definitely be a question to ask. And I, through struggles, as the women before me mentioned, that's just how you grow. And that's how you able to design great innovation. Because the things that I have designed, the reason that I had to design them, because I wasn't out there, that the technology wasn't there. There wasn't technology out there for disability people. There wasn't, and even though transportation, I mean, you have Elon Musk and he do cool innovation, really a great innovator. But let's take it a step further. Let's make the technology more inclusive, where not only is it cool, Apple is cool technology, but how can I make my technology cool but inclusive? And so as I continue to build, as my team continue to design, those are questions I ask myself. And I think with being a woman leader, I currently sit on the French American chambers as well, on their women committees, where I lead the technology for women. And I work with American entrepreneurs and French entrepreneurs, and I always trying to make sure that I am being impactful and using, I really do. I make a joke about it. I know seizures are serious. Trust me, I know it's very serious because I take medicine every day just to be able to walk. If I miss my medicine, I have a seizure, and each seizure can be my last. But, when life throw you lemon, you make lemonade. And so I do tell people, I made a silver lining out of seizure. I literally took seizures and I turned it into a company, and turn that into now being able to provide, jobs and provide leadership to other people. And But I think when you take what life gives you and you don't stick around, and as the women mentioned earlier, when you don't, you at such a point, complaining don't do anything. What you do, you take what life's give you and you see if you can find a silver lining. There's always a silver lining. Sometimes it's harder to find, but I don't believe there's any white or black area. I believe there's always a gray area. And if you can find it, that's what makes you a leader, coming out ahead. And I believe that um, as women leaders, we all have to be a leader. You had to eventually have failed, and if you have not failed at anything, I don't know how you have been a leader, because that's the only way you can really be successful, is through learning through multiple failures. And so I think when you're able to take something that you fail in, turn around and make it a learning experience, and or something that you grow, I believe that's how you become a leader. So my two thoughts on leadership and growth is both, how do you impact, how do you impact, or how are you empowering others around you? How are you empowering the next generation? And then another thing that I think that you should take away from anything I say is, we all fail. It's part of life. Um, Potholes gonna come at you, but how do you take those failures and how do you grow from them? How do you take those failures and how do you make them your silver linings? And those are main points that I wanted to point out, because my whole life have been, even now, I mean, of course you don't see, of course, nobody likes to promote their failures. Everybody like to promote the good things, especially in the startup world. You like to promote your company just closed another contract deal. Nobody tells you they probably failed about 10 times before that deal was closed. So I instead of letting your failures get you down, I think you should take those failures and make them lift you up. And that's what I do, and that's the way that I live. And I believe both mentally and to grow successfully, that's what you need to do in life. So that's what I have to say. And again, Dr. Janice, thank you for making me part of this wonderful panel today and allowing me to discuss my failures and my success, because both of those make me who I am. Both of them that make me uh, coming up successful CEO. So I never like to say that I'm successful yet, because I feel like the moment that you feel like you're successful, that's the moment that you won't wake up and do 200%. So I always want to say I'm on my way to success. So when people tell me that I've been successful, I'm not quite there yet. Let me continue to grow, because the moment you get comfortable, that's the moment that you start growing. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this panel with all these strong women. I really, really appreciate this, and really fortunate and grateful to be considered a leader amongst these two women and the women that are also watching. Thank you.